أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا محمد النبي الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه الطيبين الطاهرين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما وتفرقنا من بعده تفرقا ساميا معصوما. اللهم لا تجعل فينا شقيا ولا محروما ولا مطرودا ولا معذبا بنار برحمتك يا عزيز الغفار. ثم أما بعد. My dear brothers and sisters, if you remember last time we have spoken and we have addressed the fara'id al-wudu, the obligatory act of wudu. And we mentioned that according to Maliki Madhab are 7. First is intention, washing the face, washing the hand up to the elbow, wiping over the hand with wet hands, and wiping over the head with wet hand and washing the feet up to the ankles, and scrubbing while washing and doing it fast. Yes? And we said it's 7. However, some scholars they count 6, like Imam Shafi'i, without counting ad-dalk, without making as obligatory to rub or to scrub on the skin while pouring the water. And I said that stand, Imam Shafi'i, he supported with some evidence. Like Arab, they said, غَسَلًا الْعَرَقُ. They use the word ghasl with the sweat. And when the sweat comes, you are not like actually putting your hand over. Maybe just to remove it, But it doesn't seem that there's dalk involved in this. However, that it's a metaphoric statement. It's not the real statement. We have to know that the use of the word ghasl in this context is not the real use of it, not the haqiqah. This is just, majaz, metaphoric. So we have in Arabic, we have haqiqah and majaz. Even in English, haqiqah and majaz. And haqiqah could be haqiqah lughawiyya, shar'iyya, urfiyya. There is a consideration of the original use of that word in the language or among the specialists, or in the culture, among, general public, how they use that statement. So there's a called haqiqah, fact, in all of these. And there is majaz, metaphoric use. So that is a majaz, it's not the real one. However, in some occasion, myself, I gave fatwa for some circumstances according to Imam Shafi'i's opinion, subhanAllah. So it's that useful to know that. I'm not saying that you practice this in a normal time, but it could be useful. There's one brother, he came to me and he said, I have sadafiyya. It's a skin problem where, I don't know the official name for that. Psoriasis? Okay. Where developed kind of, skin will be harsh and it will have some actually beads. It will be hard for the person actually even to touch it. It's painful. So I said just, apply Imam Shafi'i's opinion. You don't have to do dalk, do the minimum in this. That will be fine. You get the point? So subhanAllah, some of those opinions, even if we think that's marjuh, not rajih, the rajih, the strongest one, and the other one marjuh, but it might be useful in some, cases. Another case, maybe somebody for a reason or other, he cannot move his hand. Maybe his hand were tight, and the only things that he can jump in the pool, to have a shower, for example, or to have a wudu, without making dalk. Could be. But I just said, in a normal situation, I will never give that fatwa, according to that opinion. Because I believe that, the scholars that they require dalk, their opinion are stronger in this. Okay. The second part of today, we are talking about sunanul wudu. The sunnah act of wudu. Before we talk about the sunnah act of wudu, when you hear the word sunnah, the definition of it is different from who is using that term. Is it that in the subject of hadith, if it's muhaddith, he's talking about that, or usuli, the one who talk about the sources of tashri'ah, the sources of fiqh, the sources of it, or faqih, somebody he's talking about the ahkam, the ruling of the ibadat, of the act of worship. It's different. So now we have muhaddith, we have usuli, and we have faqih. When you heard the term of word sunnah in ilm al-hadith, is different from the word sunnah of ilm al-usul, and is different from the fiqh subject. Are you interested to know the differences? Okay. So when the muhaddith, he'll talk about sunnah, he will consider any saying or action or agreement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that will include يعني أقواله وأفعاله وتقريراته صلى الله عليه وسلم. Anything that related to the Prophet, there is a narration that goes to the Prophet ﷺ that describing his saying, his action, or relating his saying, or even his agreement, that all of that's called sunnah. Okay? In other words, the sunnah, hadith, and athar, you can say are very similar terms, or are equal in that level. I don't want to go into details. So they said min al-sunnati or al-hadithi or al-athari, for example, or al-khabari even sometimes, all are equal. Okay? And this, when you talk about the saying of Rasulullah and the action of Rasulullah, let's include even whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it obligatory on us. Yes? So it's not only about the sunnah, because it relates all his action, all of his saying, and all of his, permissions. Or the things that he agreed upon, even without doing it. Or things even happen in his presence. Things happen in his presence, it's a sunnah. Because Rasulullah will never allow something will happen in his presence that to happen if it's not permissible. He will talk about it. But the fact that he never disagree, never ask the person to stop it or change it, that by itself it's an evidence. They call it taqriratuhu sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You get the point now? So that's the muhaddith. In the terminology of hadith, that's what's called sunnah. Now if it's usuli, somebody talking about sources of tashri'ah, how the fiqh developed, and what's all of that our source that we extract from it, the ruling. When he talked about sunnah, he meant the second source. Because the first source is the Quran, and then goes sunnah, and then ijma', and then qiyas, and the other sources. You get the point? Okay? So he's talking about that as the source. Okay? Now, if faqih, a jurist, used the word sunnah, he meant that it's not an obligatory act. And that act, it's something the Prophet ﷺ have done, something ﷺ he recommended, but not must to do. ليس على سبيل الإلزام. Okay? So if action the Prophet he made it that it must to be, then that will call it like, fara'id, fard, wajib. But if he really highly recommended, and he more often did it, and he mentioned that it has a great reward, but there is no punishment if somebody drop it, then that he meant that actually called sunnah. Sometimes we call even sunnah mu'akkada. He insists to do it. And more often he's doing it. And he's encouraging others to do it. But it's not in the level of obligatory act. Now when we come to apply the fiqh, the fact that Rasulullah did it, we have to do it. We made it obligatory ourselves. We do it. We are not learning this is fard and this sunnah because we care about fard and we neglect the sunnah. No, not the point. But we learn the sunnah act, so in the case that you have not done it, if you have not really made it for any reason, you will know that we're not going to invalidate your action. Am I clear? Okay. So here, in a simple word, he's talking about the sunnah act of wudu. So those acts, it's recommended. It's something the Prophet have done it more often. But in the same time, if there's any reason that the person have not really performed it, the act is still acceptable. Okay? Yes. If somebody now forget the sunnah, he have not done it, he should do it for the next prayer. If he did for the prayer and forget it, for the next prayer he should do it. And we have to understand ترك السنة مع القدرة عليها مكروه. If you leave sunnah while you are able to perform it, it's something undesirable. Okay? It's very important that, you encourage yourself to practice the sunnah act. Do not say, okay, I will limit it only myself to the obligatory act and I didn't care about the sunnah. No. And actually sometimes dropping that sunnah, in some cases, especially the sunnah muakkada or multiple sunnah khafifa, it might invalidate your act. Like in salah. Like if you dropped like a 3 light sunnah, that without making compensation, without with sujood al-sahu, it might invalidate your salah. Okay? So, let's read that part. وَسُنَنُهُ غسل اليدين إلى الكوعين عند الشروع المضمضة الاستنشاق الاستنثار رد مسح الرأس مسح الأذنين وتجديد الماء لهما والترتيب بين الفرائض. إذن سنن الوضوء 8، فرائض الوضوء 7، وسننه 8. Yes, please, you can read from the English part. The Sunnah Act are, yes.
The Sunnah acts are washing the hands up to the wrists at the beginning, rinsing the mouth, inhaling water into the nostrils, and exhaling. returning the wiping of the head, wiping over the ears, and renewing water to do so, and doing the obligatory acts in the prescribed order.
Yes. So this is the 8 sunan that attached with the wudu. So the beginning, like when you wash your hand, so you place the water in your hand, and from the sunnah, if you are using an open container, then you put it in your right side. If in a closed container, then you put it on the left side. Why is that? Because you want to take the water with the right hand. If it's open, you take the right hand. If it's not open, then you use the left hand to pour the water on the right hand. And the first time using the water, do not place your hand to the container. You should pour the water first, wash your hand, and then for the second time, then you can do that. The Prophet ﷺ mentioned it clearly. He said, لا تدري أين باتت يدك. You don't need where your hand slept. Especially after wake up in the morning, you don't know, maybe you touched najasa or something. So, from the sunnah, we apply that for the sunnah. Even say, I know where is my hand, or the awrah is completely covered, whatever. But this is the sunnah. Before you place it, then you wash it, and then you can put your hand. And minimize, the water. We're going to come to talk about that. Do not be excessive in using the water. No, don't use much. You know what Rasulullah used to make a shower, complete shower, with just a sa', which 2.6 liters. Less than 3 liters, he will make a complete shower. How many gallon and how many liters now we're using for one time washing? One time, a Sahabi made a comment. He said, that's not enough. That's not enough for me. You know what the narrator said? As a reply, he said, that was enough for the one who's better than you and me, and the one has longer hair than you. Was enough for our Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So we need to know how to use the water wisely. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited us to use the extra and unnecessary that we don't need of water, even if we are in the running river. The running river, that the water going for waste, yes? Because the running river, all rivers will drop the water in the ocean, yes? Or the seas. So the rivers goes, the direction of all rivers, the direction of it going to the direction of the sea or the ocean, except one river. SubhanAllah, going the opposite side. They call it al-asi. That's why they call it al-asi, because going in an opposite direction. However, if that going to waste, why it's not allowed for me to use as much as I want? Why? What do you think? What's the wisdom behind it? Any answer? Huh? So if you learn the bad habit at the river, how are you going to guarantee that you're going to carry, you're not going to carry that bad habit when you are not at the river? Subhanallah. So to prevent yourself from using the bad habit, even if the water is extra water and it's not, nobody will benefit from it. No. Carry the good habit wherever you go. Am I clear? Yes. So here the First, you wash, your hand, and we said takhleel, it's must. But not at this stage. At this stage, you don't have to do takhleel. When you wash your hand until your elbow, you make takhleel at that time. Okay, but doesn't matter. Now somebody might say here the tips of the fingers. Make sure. A lot of people forget the tips of fingers. So when you wash, collect the tips of fingers and rub them this way, and make sure the water is reaching there. I discourage people of growing their nails, and that's not something preferable. That's against khisal al-fitra. We have 10 things we call it khisal al-fitra. That's against the pure innate nature. And at the same time, you might accumulate, dirt in there. And at the same time, it's not going to be that helpful for you when you make dalk, or you want to make sure the water will reach there. And for sisters, they have to know the nail polish that prevent the water to reach the skin or the nail. So something that you have to think of it. And those they really make an advertisement. They said, oh, that's halal to use because the transport and the water comes there. That was not proven. It's not true. So please make sure anything has thickness, that should not be there, because that prevent the water reach the part of the body. Henna, it's fine. Anything that just color as a color like henna, it's fine. That's okay. So this is the first part of the sunnah. Washing the hand up to the wrist at the beginning of the wudu. And remember you mentioned the wisdom behind it. So when you hold the hand, you are going to test the color of the water. And when you are going to make madmada, rinsing the mouth, you are going to taste it. So you're going to test, the taste of it. And then when you are inhaling the water into your nostril, then you are going to taste the smell of it. So you are going to make sure about the classifications of the water. The color, the smell, and the taste of it. So this is, the first you start with it. You start with washing the hand, then rinsing the mouth and inhaling water into your nose. Okay, do I have to do it one after one? Like, rinsing my mouth by itself and then I will go to my nose, or put them together? There are hadith that we mentioned them that the Prophet used to do them together. And there's some other hadith that one after the other. So whatever you choose is fine. Some scholars have said do them together, that's better. However, that might be a little bit difficult for some people. Like from the one sip you take mouth take water for your mouth and for your nose. That it might be a little bit harder for some people. I would say whatever you feel comfortable with, it's fine, because both are supported by a hadith. Okay? Yes. In a normal time, you do it with the strength. But when you are fasting, do it lightly. Because you don't want to take a chance that you might by mistake swallow the water, or the water goes into your stomach from your nose. So the time of fasting, do it gently. But in the normal time, do it with the strength. This is really a good practice, the madmada and istinshaq and istinthar as well. So what we call rinsing the mouth, what we call it in Arabic? madmada. And what we call inhaling the water into your nostril, istinshaq. And the opposite of istinshaq, istinthar. Istinshaq, istinthar. Okay? You might make it easier and practical. You do istinshaq with your right hand and istinthar with your left hand. You know, just, to be more practical, this way, that will be much easier for you. Then we talk about the raddu mashi ra'si. Return the wiping of the head, yes? Is that how is there in yours? Yes, because from here to there, that's the obligatory part. Now going back, in a word, that's a sunnah. Do I have to untie my hair if I collect it together? Do I have to untie it? No, I don't have, unless I'm doing ghusl. For wudu, I don't have to. Okay? I have just follow it from outside. لماذا؟ لأن الأصل في المسح التخفيف. Anything that you wipe over it, you will never be asked to do it in a hard way. Do it in the easiest way. Okay? It's different from washing, from ghusl. When you wash something, then you have to make sure the water reach every single part. But when you make it masah, then do it lightly. So you don't have to untie it. Okay. Am I clear? Now, wiping over the ears. Yes. And like renewing water to do so. So when you carry the water for your head, you're not carrying drops, and then you do your head, back and forth. Spare like, hold it this way, all of it. And this one behind the ear, your thumb behind the ear. Now when you do your ears, use those two fingers. Okay? Do not harm yourself and carry water there. Just the drops, the remain drops from washing hands. So you wash your hand and just the remain drops, you carry it. This one inside and this one outside. One time. Back and forth. So do not go into like details and parts of there. No, just one inside and this outside, and that's all. One time. Anything that required masah, it just one time is enough. For ghusl, we're going to talk about that. That's better to do it 3 times. I said better because the obligatory part is the first one. The second one is not obligatory, unless the first one was not suffice. Then it will be. Okay? So far, so good? And then we have last part, الترتيب بين الفرائض. And doing the obligatory act in the prescribed order. Now let's say I forget one part. While I'm still making my wudu. Let's say I wash my right hand, but then I forget the left. And after I reach, let's say, my right foot, I remember that I have not done my left hand, what I should do in this time? Huh? I go back I go back to the part that I missed, which is the left hand, and then continue. And then continue. Yes, as if I have not done it. So I continue from that. Let's assume that I finish the wudu. I finish the wudu completely. And I'm still close by. Still, my part wet. But I completed the wudu. And I remember part in the wudu that I have not done it. Then I go back to do that part only. I don't have to, repeat all others. If I'm still in wudu, I go back to that part and complete the rest. But if I complete the wudu, then just to go back to that part, I don't have to do all. One time the Prophet he saw lum'ah, a part of the skin that's clear, that is dried, they've never been touched by water. So he did only that part. He then went back to do all of this. He just only that part. It's just a spot, small spot, but it's matter. Yes? Okay. Now, وَمَنْ نَسِيَ فَرْضًا مِنْ أَعْضَائِهِ فَإِنْ تَذَكَّرَهُ بِالْقُرْبِ فَعَلَهُ وَمَا بَعْدَهُ وَإِنْ طَالَ فَعَلَهُ وَحْدَهُ وَعَادَ مَا صَلَّى قَبْلَهُ. Yeah, it's a very nice point. Can you read it in English?
Whoever forgets to wash an obligatory part of his limbs and remembers before long should then wash it and rewash all the parts that follow it.
Yeah, as we were just talking about. Continue.
If, however, he remembers only after a long time, he should then wash it alone and repeat all salats he made before.
So if he remembered that alone, then he can just do that part. Yes? Again, so if he remembered that part, he should do that part alone. Now, if he prayed with that wudu where he's missing an obligatory part, then he should repeat that salah. Yes, he should repeat that salah. Yes. If he prayed and according to him that wudu was not valid, then he should, fix his wudu and repeat the salah. No, only he should do that part only. Yes. Yeah, that's enough. Okay. Okay. وإن ترك سنة فعلها ولا يعيد الصلاة. Read this part, please.
If however the part forgotten is sunnah, it should be washed alone with no repetition of salah.
Yep. So if I forget to do a sunnah, I would do it by itself without repeating, the salah. Salah is still valid regardless. وَمَنْ نَسِيَ لُمْعَةً. لمعة is a spot, مكان صغير. ومن نسي لمعة غسلها وحدها بنية وإن صلى قبل ذلك أعاد. Yes.
He who leaves a spot unwashed should wash only that area upon remembrance with intention of wudu, and any salah done before that should be repeated.
Okay. Yep. It's very clear, yes? There's no differences, like if he's complete part or even a small spot. It's same ruling. ومن تذكر المضمضة والاستنشاق بعد أن شرع في الوجه فلا يرجع إليهما حتى يتم وضوءه. Yes?
He who remembers having left out the rinsing of his mouth or the inhaling of water after already starting with the face should not go back to the forgotten parts until he finishes his ablution.
Yes, so you don't go back if you remember that you missed a sunnah. No, finish your wudu, and then that sunnah, you can do it after. That's the point. So do not go back and stop your wudu because that you missed a sunnah. No, carry on with no issue. This is, the sunan of wudu. Can we count it? We said 8, yes? غسل اليدين إلى ماذا يسمى هنا؟ الرسغ، إلى الرسغين، تمام. إلى الكوعين أو الرسغين، تمام. بعدين المضمضة، بعدين الاستنثار، بعدين رد مسح الرأس، بعدين مسح الأذنين، بعدين تجديد الماء لهما. Yes? 7. And then الترتيب بين الفرائض. Say it again. لا، الموالاة فرض. الترتيب سنة. الموالاة فرض والترتيب سنة. So to do it with no much gap, that is must. To do the next part before the first one became dry in a normal time, that's must. But to make them in order, that's sunnah. Okay? So we have 8, sunan in the wudu. The other part are fada'il. We can talk about it now if you want, about fada'il. Do we have time to do that? Okay, we'll do the fada'il. We'll talk about fada'il. So the recommended part, that the extra part is recommended. A believer should always aim for perfection. None of us will attain perfection, but we should aim for it. And by doing the fada'il, you are sitting high, level for yourself. And in fact, when you care about those details, that will help you actually to perfect your obligatory. The one he's careless, not even care about fada'il and all those details, eventually he will not be that careful about even his obligatories. But the one he's looking at details, he will never forget the main part. You understand what I'm saying? So fada'il, it's really important. Do not say, oh, it's an extra act, it's not important. No. There is a reward for it. And at the same time, that it's for yourself. And actually, when you have presence of the heart during the wudu, you are going to have presence of the heart during the salah, because you are training yourself. Khushu' is khushu'. You are training yourself. So do not say, I want to khushu' in salah. But if you are not really care about the muqaddimat salah, all these things that as introduction for salah, that's you're not going to actually help yourself during salah. So care about the fada'il is very important. Do not consider that, it's extra and it's not that important. No. The true Muslims, the one, regardless, if something that Rasulullah did it, he loved to do it. Even that's something extra. Even fadila. Even not his obligations. Because the love of the Rasulullah. And at the same time, understand the wisdom behind it. And as Muslims, we have to be careful about that. And actually, that kind of discipline is very helpful for the rest of our activities in our life. You see that clearly. The person that is really care about the details in ibadah, he will carry that good habit on all other things. He tried to organize things in order, make them in the perfect way. But the one he's careless, he will carry that, personality in all other aspects. And that's why there's kind of discipline in the fiqh. And if you notice, actually our ibadat is being repeated. Same wudu, same salah, and multiple times. Because that routine is kind of discipline for yourself. Subhanallah. يعني, you do it one time, you get the benefit of it. But in order to get the benefit, not only just to do one time, to have that good habit. And that's why Muslims, practicing Muslims, have more discipline than any others. Because they learn that kind of personality from the ibadat. They commit for ibadah. They wake up in a certain time to pray. They stop work in a certain time to pray. They do it in this way. That's actually building your personality and learning discipline. So you cannot make your own way. There's a certain way that I have to follow. And that's mentality, it's important. So I'm following the directions. And when I follow the direction of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even at work, you follow the direction of the manager. You have a discipline. Do not think that's something will never affect you. No. Affecting you as a person. So I'm just saying the fada'il that we learn it, not just to say, oh, this is fada'il, it's an extra act. No. That's virtuous. That has a value. And it's important for us to care about it. وفضائله التسمية والسواك. Okay, let's read this part first. It's virtues. The first and second part.
Sure. Its virtuous acts are reciting the Bismillah, toothbrushing.
Okay. Reciting Bismillah. Is it must? Is it must? We say fada'il, it's not must. To say Bismillah in the wudu. Yeah, is it must? No, we count 7 things that are obligatory act. None of them is Bismillah ar-Rahim. But the Prophet said, من لم يقل بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم فلا وضوء له. Yeah, there is a hadith. Whomever never started by saying Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, then there is no wudu for him. So how come? Yes? Okay. So that's a correct statement. But we have to understand it within its context. لا وضوء له أي لا وضوء كامل. إذن هو ليس شرط صحة وإنما شرط كمال. Okay, so when I say لا وضوء له, or if you don't say Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, then there is no wudu for you, that there is no perfection in the wudu. It's not the wudu itself. I'll give you an example, very powerful example. The Prophet said, لا يؤمن أحدكم حتى يحب لأخيه ما يحب لنفسه. لا يؤمن أحدكم. None of you will be a believer. Yes? Until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. So let's say somebody loves for himself more than what he loves for his brother. He's not a believer? No, he's still a believer. Huh? Yes, kamal al-iman. So, like, لا يؤمن أحدكم, so no one can attain the perfection of iman, the high level of iman, yes? Yes, until you love for your brother what you love for yourself. It's not about the iman itself. It's not one of the 6 articles of faith. We have 6 articles of faith, yes? It's none of that. If you invalidate one of the articles of faith, that means you are not faithful, you're not a believer. But this is kamal, it's perfection. It's not for correction, it's different. So here the act is correct, but it's not that perfect. So it's not must to say it. It's one of the virtue to say it. Okay, so reciting Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, that is one of the fadail. Am I clear? Now, tooth brushing. Is it must? Aha. The Prophet ﷺ said, لولا أن أشق على أمتي لأمرتهم بالسواك عند كل وضوء. This عند كل وضوء. It's because the Prophet said, لولا أن أشق على أمتي. I don't want to make it harder for my ummah. If I will, yes, I will command them to use the siwak in every wudu. In other narration, لولا أن أشق على أمتي لأمرتهم بالسواك عند كل صلاة. You know, so the first one will command them to make siwak at the time of wudu, but the second narration at the time of salah. Some scholars, they said the first hadith on the kulli wudu meant the salah, because they saw Rasulullah doing that during the salah more than the time of wudu. Okay, so they said the narration that mentioned wudu, the meaning of it, it's salah, it's not wudu. Mahmula ala salah. That's one of the explanations. So the time, you know, of some they said the opposite. The time for, you know, salah is mahmula ala wudu. But anyway, now when you say siwak, it doesn't have to be a special tools. It could be the siwak from the Ud al-Arak. You know Ud al-Arak? Huh? Yes. By the way, that's not branches. That's from the roots of that tree. A lot of people think that's the branches of the tree. That's from the roots of the tree. Yes. It has a lot of benefits. إن السواك مرضي للرحمن وهكذا مبيض الأسنان مطهر الفم مزكي الفطنة يزيد في فصاحة وحسنة. There's a many benefits of siwak. Imam al-Suyuti mentioned 10 benefits of that. And the Prophet said, السواك مرضاة للرب مطهرة للفم. Siwak, that siwak, yes. So the siwak like is used to clean your mouth and to please your Lord. So the siwak has many benefits. That to please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by siwak. But the siwak not necessarily that, you know, the Ud al-Arak, that stick from that special tree. The brush itself is a siwak. Your finger is a siwak. So during the wudu, the madmada, you put your fingers inside, you did the siwak. So you madmada and you put your finger inside, that fulfill that, you know, fadilah. However, it's always good to have the siwak with you. Okay? Some people asking, can I do and use the siwak during Ramadan when I'm fasting, during fasting? You can. The Prophet istaka wa huwa sa'im. He used while he was fasting. However, we differentiate between the dry one where has no taste and the wet one, the one has a taste. So try to avoid the wet one during fasting. It has a like kind of a flavor. And even now, they add the flavor to it sometimes. This is a flavor with the rumman. This is a flavor of na'na'. Yes, they add a flavor to it. So avoid the wet one, and use the dry one during fasting. Okay, but if you used, that's fine. It's just makruh according to some scholars, using the one that has a flavor, the natural flavor, not like the added one. Some scholars, they said it's makruh during the fasting, but it does not invalidate your fast. So this is tasmiyah and then siwak. والزائد على الغسلة الأولى في الوجه واليدين. And washing the face and hand more than once. The second time, third time, it's fadila. Can I use only one time? Can I only limit it to one time? The Prophet did it, but he did it in very minimum occasions. So it is permissible, but it's makruh. It's makruh to limit it to one unless you know exactly what you are doing. وكره واحدة في الغسل إلا لعالم كداف النقل. It's makruh, undesirable to limit to one time unless you are knowledgeable about ahkam al-wudu. Otherwise, do not put yourself at risk, because one time might not suffice for you. وَالْبَدَاءَةُ بِمُقَدَّمِ الرَّأْسِ. That begin from the forehead when wiping over the head. Where's the beginning of the head? مع بداية الشعر المعتاد. Yes, من منبت الشعر المعتاد. Okay, so some people they might be bald, or some people they might have extra hair that cover even part of their forehead. So where's normally the hair start, that where should start. So if there is no hair or there is extra hair, doesn't matter, where's normally, okay, that we should start with it. وترتيب السنن, that doing the sunnah act in the right order. When we do it in the right order, the sunnah as well, that it's better. Let's say somebody did the ear before the head, it's fine. But it's better to follow that order. وقلة الماء على العضو. Economizing the use of water on the limb. So we mentioned that. Do not use the excessive, water, and that's makruh. Do not really waste that. As Muslims, we should be careful about, using the water. Okay? Now in the tab, I like, some masajid, they have one has a sensor. Just you put your hand, you move it, that's good. The sensor on the tip, that's really good. It's not the sensor in the on the tab itself, because that's first very practical. The water will come right away and will stop right away. That's really good. There's no much waste. If not, you minimize the opening, or use both hands. Use both hands, open and close. Why not? Think of it as if it's a closed container. Try your best not to waste the water. And do not do it slowly. That's fine, you do the wudu as crazy, very fast. Yes, salah should be slowly, but not wudu. There's no any point that you slow in the wudu, and that actually will save more water. تقديم اليمنى على اليسرى. That's starting with the right before the left. That's actually should be good habit. It's not only in wudu, in ghusl, and shaking hands with others, wearing your cloth, your dress. Try to start with the good habit, with the right hand before the left. When you entering the mosque, yes, use your right hand, right foot. So using the right hand, right foot, in the most of the action, unless that's attached with the dirt, then use the left instead. ويجب تخليل أصابع الرجلين ويستحب تخليل أصابع الرجلين. So we said no هذه من الفضائل yes من الفضائل and it's here he said it's obligatory to wear in between the fingers, while it's recommended to do the same with the toes. So the fingers, like in your hand, it's must to make sure the water reach in between, but not the foot. رفع عن الحرج. It's not that easy to do that for the foot, and it could even sometimes put a very attached. Even it happens sometimes people there's no gap. That's by birth, subhanallah. But in the finger, in the hand, that you should make sure غسل البراجم, but not the foot. However, below the toes, that it's must. Sometimes the toes, there's kind of a heading part that you should make sure the water reaches there. The last point here, ويجب تخليل اللحية الخفيفة في الوضوء دون الكتيفة. ويجب تخليلها في الغسل ولو كانت كثيفة. This is the last part. Please read it.
It is also obligatory to wet one's beard during the ablution when it is lightly grown, not when it is thick. In ritual bath, however, even thick beards must be thoroughly wet.
Okay, how we differentiate between the light beard and the thick one? The differentiation, not the length of the hair. No. If you can see the skin through it, then we call it light. Then it's must to make sure that you wet the skin. But if you cannot see the skin, then you don't have to do that. Okay? You don't have to make sure that water will reach it, from inside. That's in wudu. However, in ghusl, regardless, that's light or thick, you have to make sure that water reach the skin. This is, the fada'il al-wudu. So alhamdulillah, so far we cover the fara'id, the obligatory act, which are 7, and then the sunan, which are 8, and then the fada'il, which are 9. Yes? So we have 7, 8, and 9. And inshallah, we'll continue next time talking about mubtilat al-wudu. What's the things that make the wudu invalid? And we'll continue next Saturday, billahi subhanahu wa ta'ala. Do you have any question? Yes, please. Related to what we talk about?
Yeah.
Yes.
The water. So, in the Maliki madhab, we use the water from.
Can you what?
So, if you have a tub, right? In the madhab of Imam Malik, can you reuse the water? You have a tub for. So what is the minimum amount of water in order to reuse that container? Yeah, exactly. Like that. Reuse water. Wash my hands.
Like I get what you mean. So the water that was used for the ibadah, the water was used for a ibadah that can be used again ma'al karaha. You can be used again, but it's undesirable. Okay? Yes. So as long as never change, it's any of the classification of the water, you still can use ma'al karaha. That's the still water. That's a limited amount of water. But the running water, use as much as you can and multiple times, there's no issue. Okay? Or the water that it's in a large quantity. So the water in large quantity or the running water, you can use as much as you want, like as much how many times, there's no issue. But you're talking about the water in a limited quantity, and none of the classification of the water change. Like you still has the nice smell, the color, the taste doesn't change. You still can reuse it again for ibadah, regardless of wudu or ghusl. You can use that one ma'al karaha, but that it's undesirable. Okay. Any other question? So you get my point, yes? The evidence for that the Prophet ﷺ, he used to have ghusl with his wife and using the same container. You get the point? Because both of them using the same one, so the water might be goes back and drop back again with the same container, and both they use the same one. The nail polish, it's to prevent the water to reach the part of the wudu. And anything that prevent to reach the water to any part of the wudu, make the wudu invalid, unless that's something out of your control. Let's say jabira, that you have a wound and you're covered with something, with a jabira casket, call it, or just wrapping, cloth. The shash, what do you call the shash? Tubbi. Yeah, like whatever, covering your part. That's a different story. So that you can rub over it. Just carry a drop of water and just make it a little bit wet, not much. Just the drops, not much. And over it. And then it will be fine. That part. And you wash the rest, but only you wipe over that one. You wash all of the rest, but you wipe over this one. However, if that fall, that invalidates the wudu. If that fall, or you move it, that invalidates the wudu. So if somebody made a wudu, and during the salah, the jabira fall, he should cut his salah. Same ruling as if he has discharge. During salah. If you have discharge your salah, you stop your salah, same. Because this part now is a part of wudu, it's exposed, and the water never reach. Yes, so you're allowed to have that. You can, you have recommendation from the doctor to avoid this part from being touched by water. That's fine. That's fine. You can rub something on it, and then wipe over, but just as I said, make sure you keep it during Salah. Any question? Yes, brother. Huh? Wiping on the socks. Okay. Now we have to differentiate between the leather socks, we call it khuf, and the other material, we call it jawrab. Khuf, which nowadays is not that common. Nowadays not that common. During the time of Rasulullah was common. That one, the one from the leather, no doubt you can make masah and wipe over, and you can wear it 24 hours if you are not traveler, and 3 days and night if you are a traveler, without even removing it. Just you can wipe over, and that will be enough for you. And by the way, there are over 200 hadiths about this. This is mutawatir, undeniable, and nobody can deny this. And there is a refer to it in the Quran in one of the riwayah. وَامْسَحُوا بِرُؤُوسِكُمْ وَأَرْجُلِكُمْ إِلَى الْكَعْبَيْنِ. هذه رواية محمولة على المسح على الخف. So the common riwayah that we read, وَأَرْجُلَكُمْ, that's to wash your foot. But وَأَرْجُلِكُمْ, that to wipe over. You know, wipe over, not directly, but using the leather sock. Because who would explain the Quran better than the Prophet? Nobody. And the Prophet never wiped over his foot directly. Always he's like, you know, if he would do that, he will have the socks in there. And if the socks in there, yes, you do the masah on the top. The right hand in the top of the right foot, and the left hand on the top of the left foot, and one time. Okay? In the top. That's all. Okay? But that required 11 conditions. 11 conditions. Maybe we're going to come and talk about it. But just some of the conditions. Before you wear it, you have to have a complete tahara. You have to have valid wudu. And that has to be from leather. And it has to be tanning, purified. Because without tanning, that leather is not purified. It has to be having chemical process to become purified. Okay? And has to cover the whole part. And it has to have no holes that exposing major part in the foot, that around 1/3 of it. Okay? And you wear it 24 hours if you are not travelers, and allow up to 3 days and night if you are a traveler. So this is some of the condition that has to be there for rubbing on the leather socks. Now, talking about the ones not from the leather, we call it jawrab. That's not permissible according to the majority of scholars. Not permissible according to the majority of the school of thought. Not the Maliki, not the Shafi'i, not the Hanafi, you know. And that's permissible according to Imam Ahmad. In one of his opinion, he has two opinions. One of his opinions said no. And the second opinion, he made two conditions. It has to be thick and has to be able to walk in it. And that mentioned clearly in a book of Imam Ahmad, like Kitab al-Mughni, Ibn Qudama, and many others. However, that was based on hadith. And one hadith, that hadith Durriqa. The Sahaba, they went in the battlefield, and there was, you know, cold night, and they rubbed cloth, kumash, on their foot, and they used that for wudu. And that hadith, it's valid hadith. That's fine. So, is it يعني رخصة permissible? According to that school of thought, yes. Okay. But there are differences between the one from leather, the khuf, and the one that's not from the leather. That can be interpreted in different ways, yeah. Well, outside, يعني, at that time, it's not different from outside this time, you know. So it's fine. As long as thick, it's fine according to Imam Ahmad, yeah. Sometimes in this society, even if you are not normally doing masah on the jawrab, not, normally you do that in the practice, wipe it on socks, the normal socks, not the leather one. Sometimes you find yourself, it's harder for you not taking this permission. You get my point? Like let's say in public place sometimes, and they didn't allow you to put your foot in a sink. They might actually state that clearly. And sometimes they have point, because you might wet the floor and other people might injure, yes, and fall and slip. So sometimes you find yourself, there's not much options for you to wash your foot. And this is, valid opinion according to school of Imam Ahmad. And as I said, maybe in normal time, you said, you know what, I want to just wash. But you find that tight a little bit, in some occasion or some situation. Yes. Any other question? Is that clear? Okay. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the best of understanding. Allahumma alimna wa jahilna wa dhakkirna ma nasina wa faqana fi dinina. Allahumma ij'alna min ibadika as-salihin. Allahumma nas'aluka al-'afwa wal-'afiyah المعافاة الدائمة في الدين والدنيا والآخرة آمين سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا